G'day, that's Slot Car Guy here, and welcome back to the Slot Car Review. And today's Carrera's turn, but more to the point, this beautiful Mazda Rx7, the FD3S in yellow from the initial D series. It's a cartoon or an anime. If you haven't seen it, check it out. A massive thank you to Slot Shop for getting it in for me. And of course, I'm surrounded by some initial D goodness. So let's dive right in because I cannot wait to unbox this beautiful Mazda Rx7 in yellow. So let's check out Carrera's 132 digital initial D series Rx7. So welcome back to another Slot Car Review, and yes, it is Carrera's turn, and I have gone digital with this beautiful Mazda Rx7 Initial D series, and of course it is the Mazda Rx7 FD3S, the older brother to this little puppy beside me. But a massive thank you to Slot Shop who did order in for me and get it for me, and of course support your local and support them. But I cannot wait to dive into this because I'm a big fan of the Initial D series, the anime and the comic and books, and I'm so happy that Carrera or any slot car company has gone full JDM with this beautiful JDM series. Massive fan of JDM cars, and this is just another tick in the box for me. And I actually think it looks pretty good. So let's dive into it. Let's have a quick look at the packaging and then we'll do a full unboxing. And of course, again, if you don't know Initial D, please check out the anime series. Jump straight onto YouTube, you'll find a video pretty quickly. This is digital. Let's flip around to the side. And you're probably going to notice it is definitely a Rocket Bunny style car. It's got a massive rear spoiler. It's got some beautiful body kit parts on it. And of course, it's a replica of the car from the actual comic series. And if I flip it around, there's the driver and the car itself in comic form. And if I'm going to pronounce it properly, it is Keisuke Takashi. That's who I think's driving the car. I don't know how to pronounce that properly, but let's get stuck into it. Let's do a full unboxing. And of course, we're going to take this thing for a trip around my track. So before we take a close look at the packaging and the car itself, if you are new to Carrera and you haven't purchased a Carrera 132 car before, this is part of the digital series, and the way you can tell the 132 cars have this blue base, and there's a sticker up here which I'll show in a tick that says digital. And of course, this car can be used on your Evolution or your analog track, but an analog car cannot be used on the digital track. So if you do have an Evolution track, you can still use one of these, which is really cool. Let's bring in the star of the show, the driver, and I think Carrera making these figures has definitely gone in the right direction, because I take photos of cars and having the driver, which, let's have a look at him, nice green hoodie, blue jeans or suede pants, or maybe they're cargos with some black shoes. This is the driver of that car out of the anime. So if you do watch the anime, you'll know this driver very well. But I love how they've brought these out so you can actually pose it with the car itself, and like I do on Instagram, take photos of the driver and the car. Well, let's move them out the way. So hat off to Carrera for doing the figures. I love that. But let's bring this beautiful Rx7 into play. Now, if you're not a fan, or if you haven't seen Initial D, the anime series, there is a movie as well, and of course, comics and books. If you're a gamer like me, this will be right up your alley. Of course, Forza, Need for Speed, Gran Turismo, this is definitely a gamer's car. And if you're a JDM fan, it's ticked that box massively. So let's have a quick look. There's not many decals on this car because it's true to the car itself on the anime. Straight down the side, as you can see, with this beautiful body kit, missing some side fairing here, which is true to the actual car in the anime. Let's move straight to the front bonnet. Look at, oh my God, look at those cutouts. It looks like a shark's grill. Absolutely love that. Of course, that's active. I think that's cut straight through. Maybe it's painted. It's a bit hard to see. Down to the lights, which have been inserted. They're inset into the actual car itself. And of course, I absolutely love that. I mean, I do love pop-up lights, but this has actually been set into the car itself. Around to the side, of course, identical to the passenger side, but there's your driver again. It's the same figure, but of course now he's in the car driving it. Now, in regards to the interior, which it might be a bit hard to see because it's black, we do have a flooded cockpit, so it's flooded up to about his elbows, and it's pretty much blacked out. So the detail inside isn't the greatest, but I do like how that figure looks pretty damn real. So let's have a quick zoom in on him. So there you go. Gold rims looks really good. Let's take a close look at this front missing bit of fairing. Now, I love that style body kit. And of course, we've all gone Rocket Bunny these days. Everyone's got weird and wonderful body kits, but this was quite groundbreaking back in the day. Now, here we go at the rear. Take a look at the size of that rear spoiler. Look at that. But what I do love about the rear here as well, on the boot itself, there's another nice little black flick, which is just above the lights, which might be hard to see. There you go. And of course, we've got the number plate, which is the Initial D 25th anniversary edition number plate. Around to the front as well, the 25th anniversary number plate. And of course, let's quickly go back to the back. You'll see the RX-7 logo. A really, really beautiful looking car. Have a quick look underneath. Is there any detailing underneath? We do have one exhaust pipe, which is pretty cool. But of course, if you are used to Carrera, the underneath looks like a Carrera car. So, extremely happy about the design of the car. Extremely happy that they've added the figures. And of course, I do love this series. I have all up-to-date series bar the blue R32 Skyline. But let's do a quick teardown, see what's inside this. And then we're going to take this thing for a, hopefully not a drift, but a race around my track. Alrighty, so I completed the teardown, very simple, 4 screws, and I won't spend too much time doing the teardown because if you are a Carrera collector, these do look very similar across the range of Carrera cars. But let's have a quick look inside the actual shell itself because I did find some detail that I do like. They've used a different color paint here, which I believe they're doing that so with the active lights, yes, this does have lights because it's a digital car, won't get much bleed through when it comes through the bonnet or the front bar, including the rear bar. So very smart, so I like how they've done that. And another touch that I really didn't focus on is that rear window has the heat elements for when you got frosty window on the rear. I hope you can see that there's orange lines just behind that windscreen. But really cool detail. They've done a great touch on this. And of course, if you do want one of these, they are an Asian release, so you might have to find a seller. And of course, I got mine in Australia from Slot Shop, but you may have to search high and low to find them because they're not released really anywhere else. Let's have a look inside the internals. And of course, this is a Carrera car. If you are a Carrera collector, this will be very, very familiar. Let's start from the front. Of course, with this beautiful guide section. Very messy because it's got a digital chip, which we'll talk about in the tick. But let's flip it upside down. A nice, and I love the Carrera guides, a very nice big oversized guide, really good for a wood track, and of course the 124 scale track that Carrera run. The only thing I don't like, they really need to taper off these edges to stop that clicking noise because you do get a lot of clicking noise with Carrera. Flip around to the front, this big U-shaped piece is the digital chip, and again I'll flip it upside down and you'll see that there's a digital sensor right here, and of course you've got your flick switch for if you want to go backwards or forwards around your track. Back around again, inline motor, and again, the Carrera standard motor, inline motor married with the pinion and gearing at the rear. Very basic setup, but it's good quality. These things run really, really well. And of course, we've got active lights front and rear. And flip it upside down, we're gonna have 2 magnet locations. One you'll be able to see here, which is behind the motor itself, and another magnet, bar magnet, is buried inside here, which you can't really see unless I take the chip out. There is a screw there to remove the chip if you don't want it in the car at all, but I don't see why you would because you can use this on your analog track as well. So there is the internals. Again, I didn't want to spend too much time on it because they are very similar, but let's get this thing around my track. These normally handle very well, but I'd love to see what kind of time I can post on my latest layout. So RX-7, it's your turn. Let's hit the track and see how fast we can go.
Lap 1, 10.29 seconds.
So how did Carrera's version of the Mazda Rx7 FD3S perform around my track, the yellow Rx7 from the initial D series? Well, I did an 8.96. If you remember from my last initial D review, which was the older brother, the FC3S, that did an 8.82. So this is a tad slower, but I did find this was a little bit more drifty around the track. Maybe it was a different track temperature, I don't know, but this was a little bit trickier to drive. But at 8.96 is still a very, very good time. These go really well out of the box on a Carrera track. That's my opinion. I've always found Carrera cars run really well on my track. Do I recommend the initial D series? As the other video, of course I do. I think this is a no-brainer if you love JDM, if you love Mazda, and if you love Japanese cars, of course. But of course they are an Asian release, so a massive thank you to Slot Shop who did get me both these cars in. I do appreciate it, mate. You might have to hunt for them a little bit, but they're well worth the money you've spent on them. But as always, thank you for the support at THATSLOTCARGUYOZ on Instagram and YouTube. Are we liking the shirt? I've got some more designs coming, but please hit the comments. Are we liking the 3 or should I go back to 5 laps? Let me know in the comments. But as always, take care, be safe, ciao.